Welcome to the June meeting of the Hadley Public Schools. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Christine. Do I hear a second?
Seconded. I see Tara's got her hand
Yes.
Tara is not Tara.
Recording in progress.
Tara Brugger. Tara, I just made you co-host.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, no problem. Welcome. All right, terrific. Four of us are here. Paul will be joining. Is that true, Annie?
I believe so. I don't have anything indicating otherwise. So
Okay.
I think he will be.
Terrific. All right, well, let's get moving. We are reviewing any adjustments to the agenda. Annie, can you take us through those?
They are highlighted, but those include 4E was added. So we'll review the final MOU for the AGS fields. 4G, the first reading of the HBS school threat assessment policy. 4I, just an update on the possibility of a third pre-K classroom for 23-24. And 5, our student reps are not here this evening. They have multiple projects and swim practice, but they will be back with us in the fall.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into public comment. As a reminder, comments should be limited to 3 minutes. They should be pertinent to what's on the agenda. And we may or may not respond to the items that are brought up. But we would love to hear from you. So if you are interested in making a comment, raise your digital hand and we will unmute you. Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is the reorganization of the school committee, which, as you all know, happens every year right after an election, just to revisit the committee roles and the various roles. The first is the nomination of the chair. I'm happy to serve. Again, should you be willing to support that. And I'm also very happy to nominate Paul as vice chair. He's not here, but I'm going to do it in his absence. Let's see, in terms of current roles, we have the policy subcommittee as Ethan Percy and Christine Pipchinsky. I think this is your first year of doing it together, both of you, and actually your first years doing it at all. So I really appreciate the work you've been doing so far. Tara, I believe this is also 1 year down as CES liaison. We have the town capital committee liaison, and Christine, you've been excellent in that regard.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have the tri-board town finance liaison as me, but really there haven't been any tri-board meetings. And Ethan, you've been signing warrants, and Paul has been leading the conversation around the CPA with the Fields project, which is such an important project, and he's done such a great job with that. So I'm going to open it and ask, does anyone want to shift any of their current assignments? And I'll just pause and hear your feedback.
I'm more than happy to stay on policy.
I'm happy to stay on CES as well. Now that we've just gone back to in-person, I think it's helpful to have a little bit of continuity there. Unless somebody else is eager, then I'm okay either way.
I'll agree. I'm happy to be where I am and continue doing the policy subcommittee. And I think in terms of the way we're organized right now, I'm happy to continue that moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I think we're functioning really well in our roles, and I think this is like, it takes at least a year to really get our stride, and then really also I'm excited to see what we can do in year 2 in these different roles. So Annie, how does this work? Do we need a
And how about a motion to continue with current committee roles and assignments? Does that work?
Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, expanding innovation pathways. Annie.
Good news, as you know, we have 2 existing pathways that have been approved by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, our business and finance pathway and our environmental and life sciences pathway. We just finished doing some planning for our computer science and information sciences pathway. We will submit a full request for designation in the fall. That needs to be approved by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We were also invited to apply for the clean energy. That was by invitation only, the clean energy pathway. And so I submitted that planning grant. These are now for fiscal year 24. I submitted that planning grant, I think yesterday or Friday, I don't remember, but just recently.
That's very exciting, Annie, especially in light of the potential clean energy projects that we're considering and the town's efforts on to become a designated clean energy town. I can imagine that a lot of students would be interested in that. Really,
Yeah.
thank you for pursuing both of those. So the process is that you apply and wait to hear back as to whether or not we are granted those designations, and it comes with some planning monies.
Correct. So it's a 3-stage process. You write a preliminary grant based on the review of that proposal. You're invited to submit what's called a Part A. Based on the quality of the Part A proposal, you're then invited to submit a Part B and go through an interview process with the department. So we are right now, we are going to proceed with Part A for computer science. We'll probably proceed with Part A and then wait and see if we get invited into Part B.
Terrific. Any thoughts or comments for Annie?
Just really cool. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Awesome. Okay. No vote required, just you're keeping us abreast. Okay, we're moving on to item C, Research Advisory Committee, HPS participation. Annie.
So this is great news. I applied to and have been accepted as a representative of Hadley Public Schools, but I've been accepted to be a part of the Education to Career Research and Advisory Council. What that means for the district is not only will we be participating with a number of other institutions and some pretty impressive institutions. So University of Michigan, Harvard, University of Chicago, the Mass Donahue Institute, the Mass Taxpayers Association, several others. There are only 3 K-12 public school districts that have representatives on this board. One is Lowell with 14,000 students. The other is Brockton with 15,000 students, and Hadley Public Schools, 500 students and about 750 cows. But we are on this board, and that's good. The advantages for the district are that the group works on providing input and feedback on specific education, workforce, data, and research projects. And we advise on user-friendly design of dashboards and data tools. So I'm grateful that we can be a part of the conversation and be at the table. That's just an update.
That's terrific. Well, we certainly punch above our weight consistently, Annie. That's terrific. I also think this might be a great opportunity to make partnerships and connections for future grant opportunities. So thank you so much for connecting to a broader audience that is plugged into how the industry is moving and how research is moving forward. That's keeps us one step ahead.
No problem. And connected with this, I'll just quickly say, because it just happened this morning, I had a meeting with the new president of Greenfield Community College, vice president for admin and finance up there, a couple of deans as well, and their director of workforce development. They are, which will be more of a conversation for next year, but know that we already have over $100,000 in grant applications for FY24 that have already been submitted as of today. That meeting that happened today, I'm very excited about, put somebody from GCC in contact with Carolyn Brennan, the town administrator. GCC is very interested in having a presence in Hampshire County. I think this will benefit the town of Hadley, very much benefit our students, and all kinds of opportunities there. They're also signing on as a supporting partner for another grant opportunity that we're doing that's related to innovation pathways, but it's different. It's been on our strategic plan for a while, and that is this development of a public safety academy. So we've done all kinds of, I don't know, we've piloted all kinds of opportunities for students, from internships in public safety to courses that are co-taught by our teachers, and then with guest lecturers coming over from public safety. So what we put together, it'll be out the door tomorrow. I'm meeting with the Granby superintendent tomorrow morning, but we're looking to develop something that we're referring to as the Pioneer Valley Public Safety Academy for high school students, which will be a partnership with Hatfield, Granby, and Hadley Public School. All the chiefs are on board, really excited, particularly because they face real workforce challenges when it comes to staffing public safety in rural areas. We have a letter of support from the Hampshire Franklin Regional Employment Board. They think it's an excellent project, and GCC is very excited as well to support the project. So that meeting happened this morning and connected to some of this work around education to career.
That's terrific, Annie. Thank you. I love the way that you're bringing to light our strategic initiatives through the effort of this outreach and partnership building. And I'm especially keen to connect at some point, maybe in August, about the technical pathways that we have our eye on. How might we help our Hopkins students pursue technical pathways in electrical and plumbing and others without having to leave Hopkins and join Smith Academy, without having to go to a vocational school? How might they be able to get that training and also graduate with a Hopkins degree, keep our sports team strong, keep our academics full? And it would be great to explore those pathways, especially in light of how I believe this Research and Advisory Council really looks at manufacturing industries and advanced manufacturing industries. And some of those vocational trades are really essential to bringing back a lot of the competencies that we lost when we shipped jobs overseas and with a change in demographics. So I'm eager to talk about that further, and maybe we can put it on the agenda for August.
Yep.
Any other thoughts and comments for Annie about the expanding the Research Advisory Council role?
I think you summed it up well. It's very exciting. I agree with everything you said. I love revisiting it again in August too, to kind of see how we can get other avenues moving that we kind of talked about last year, right, at our retreat. So it's
2 years ago now.
Was it 2 years ago already? Oh my God.
I mean, time flies when you're
yeah. It's just I'm excited. It's every time I get an email, it's very exciting.
Indeed. Okay, very good. Thank you. We are moving on to the to item D, Superintendent Summative Evaluation 2022-2023. Annie.
Sure. So you have a link in your agenda that takes you through some of the work that we've done as a district and that I led with others, and hopefully to your satisfaction. And effectively, it is the responsibility of the school committee every single year to formatively evaluate the superintendent, which you did mid-year, and then at the end of every year to provide one rating for each standard. There are 4 standards, and one overall rating, and those are submitted to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. While the standards may include additional objectives, the objectives that I focused on when providing you with information are those that align with our long-term district strategy document. So, we've been working on reviewing and revising curricula on every grade and subject. I'm pleased to announce that Hadley Elementary is prepared to, our goal now in the summer is to figure out the best way to go public with our documents. Remember, ultimately, our goal was not only to align our documents, to have high quality curriculum documents, to integrate social justice standards, standards for teaching tolerance, but also to create a place where parents, and we're trying to stay ahead of this work of transparency and communication, where parents could view these documents if they would like. The trick we have to work on over the summer is we still need a place in Google Drive where teachers can work that parents are not watching them. It's not like a public studio, but we just need to figure out where we're going to house documents that now have, they're kind of set until the next revision. Hadley Elementary, I think I included an example of maybe under resources.
I have some
Perhaps
tips
that
for that,
curriculum
by the way.
checklist. Yeah.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have some tips about how to keep those separate, and I'm happy to share that with you offline.
That's great. I will follow up with you on that because I want it to be easy for parents. The good news, Hadley Elementary, all of what they adopted an entirely new literacy curriculum. Their documents be ready to go this late summer, early fall. And I think that's K-6, right, Jen? That's all the way. Yeah. And several documents at Hopkins Academy will also be ready to go. So really excited about that. It's a huge undertaking. And probably, I would argue, I'll look around, but that may make us pretty unique. It's typical that parents can find syllabi if they go to the website, a teacher, a department. That's fairly common. But actually being able not just to look at what is the textbook that somebody uses, but what are the curriculum documents that the teacher uses, helpful. And we think also helpful to the school committee because we know that constituents are likely to call you if they have questions or concerns. So then you can see the actual document and communicate more effectively with your constituents. Also under standard one, as we know, a big objective of ours is to enhance and expand high quality college and career pathways. We are making a lot of headway here. So I already talked about the pathways that we have and that we are applying for. This past year, we were awarded $167,000 in grant funding for pathways development and expansion. We have estimated that we'll have 24 students enrolled in college. We did have 24 in both in college and career pathways in 22 and 23. 14 juniors and seniors will complete 84 college credits. We anticipate in 23-24 through early college. And we were awarded this year a sizable amount of money to fund paid internships in STEM for HA students. We had 17 students participating. We also have these great partnership with Work-Based Learning Alliance, a statewide opportunity, so it's not unique to us, but we have really seized it. These are virtual internships. This is where we have students getting credentials in cybersecurity, working with teams of students from all over the state on projects that they find really fascinating. It is not limited to cybersecurity. There are other virtual internships. There are 2 sessions happening this summer. They are paid, and we have 23 students who have indicated that they're interested and looking to sign up for these internships. And we also implemented our 2nd year of our Future Educator pathway. Also under instructional leadership, one of our goals was to expand technology, service learning, and language learning. So as I said, we're focused on expanding pathways. Our HA educators, we received a grant this year that allowed our Hopkins Academy educators to develop service learning units on food insecurity and connect with the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts. These were multidisciplinary units that teachers created together. Students in grades K-6 receive Spanish language instruction weekly, and Jen is really committed to helping me hit the ball out of the park. Thank goodness for Jen. She is, it also looks like maybe there will be some opportunities for Chinese language learning for students who are interested next year at Hadley Elementary. We completed all goals of Project Lead the Way. And as I let you know, we were named a PLTW, not we, HAS, but was named a PLTW Distinguished School. it's a big deal. And we look in future years to start connecting PLTW up through Hopkins. That will really help us with things like manufacturing, science. And Hopkins Academy has developed a new course, Spanish for Service Learning at Hopkins Academy, and several students. That's standard 1, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can continue, go through all the standards, and then you can just have one. What would you like?
If you could continue, that would be great. And then we'll pause and express our admiration for.
Oh.
all of
So standard 2, management and operations. So one of our goals, this is really huge, right? When I started in the district, lots of people working really, really hard, and that work wasn't well, there weren't systems in place to coordinate that work, which made it a lot more challenging for teachers and building leaders. We wanted to fully implement multi-tiered systems of support in literacy, math, social emotional learning in grades K through 8. So now we have a common tiered support team referral process across the district. We're not doing different things in each building. We do universal screening, as you know, response to intervention. And that means we assign supplemental interventions for students who are not on track to meet grade level benchmarks. And we progress monitor in ELA mathematics and social emotional learning. And we do this in K through 12. So we've exceeded that goal we set for ourselves. We have implemented an evidence-based SEL curriculum in grades K through 8. We've secured grant funding to strengthen MTSS practices in SEL. So we received a Safe and Supportive Schools grant and received continuation funding this summer and anticipate additional funding next year. And the SEL and mental health grant, these were highly, highly competitive grants. These things really would not have happened if the school committee had not been willing to support the position of MTSS and SEL coach. I was just saying, Michelle's a long title that I kind of kept adding. So she has been instrumental with the building principals. This work is not about me at all. This really is 100% building principals, Michelle, and now Sarah Jabber, who's also helping with this work. And we have administered a school climate survey to students and a family engagement survey. We also set a goal of fostering safe, inclusive, and equitable learning communities. And so some of the work we've done to achieve that objective, the teachers developed an advisory curriculum at Hopkins Academy. We started our restorative justice professional development with Suffolk University, and that will continue next year. We had district-wide professional development in culturally responsive practices, and we'll be inviting a presenter back in 23 and 24. Those are already scheduled for more training in culturally responsive practices and bias and culturally proficient communication. I gratefully, happily, was selected to participate in the Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion PD. That was an application process, and I completed that PD this year. Our district leadership team received professional development from Delino HR on civil rights and investigating bias incidents, and that we will also get annual refresher training in that. And with the support and help of the school committee, created a Safe Schools and DEI specialist position. We also want to make sure that we allocate our resources and align policies with our district priorities. As I said, we have applied for, I have it here. So I gave you an example of just some of, that's not an exhaustive list of the grants that we wrote last year, and I'm the grant writer for the district, so I'm grateful for the work that people do on the ground. I write them and they execute, and you keep getting grants because people execute well. So I'm grateful for the building principals, our teachers, Michelle and Sarah, for helping with that. We submitted 19 competitive grant proposals for fiscal year 23, totaling over $500,000. That does not include our entitlement funding. We do still have one in review. There was one rejected, my dishwasher for Hopkins Academy. I'm still bitter about it. And to date, we have 17 awarded. And as you know, the town supported our budget presentation. Thank you to the town. So that went well. We have reviewed several policies and added really important policies. You'll hear about a threat assessment policy this evening, reviewed our school resource officer policy. And I'm particularly pleased with the work the policy subcommittee did with the help of Ms. Beckett around our library materials acquisition and challenge policy, because you may be aware this is something that is kind of bubbling up in a lot of places. And so I believe that that policy really demonstrates a solid understanding of the importance of parents communicating with parents. Parents know what's going on and having a chance to weigh in, and respecting the wisdom and skill and expertise of our educators and professionals. And those two goals are not mutually exclusive. As a matter of fact, they're complementary. And I think this policy shows that the district policy subcommittee did a really good job of landing on a policy that doesn't act as though we have to make a choice between respecting educators or parents. Those are actually complementary goals. And standard 3, family and community engagement. We always want to improve our two-way communication with parents. So we have regularly requested input from parents in a variety of ways, whether it's sending emails to say, would you like to be on this committee, give us feedback, sending surveys. And I'm not just talking about the family principals constantly. Would you like to talk with us about cell phones? Would you like to be a part of this subcommittee or this committee? And sometimes people have very busy lives. I appreciate the fact that even when parents may not be able to participate in the committee, they are quick to email or call our principals, and sometimes me, but usually it makes sense to start with the principal. Most of these things are on the ground issues at school. We have successfully collaborated with town departments, Park and Rec, see another example tonight, the DEI committee. They requested that Sarah and I present to them our town green committee, and of course, public safety. This one, there is a section, there's a very specific part of the superintendent rubric, and it says that the superintendent actively engages stakeholders from all segments of the community, including residents, municipal officials, business leaders, and furthering the mission of the school and the district. And so part of the reason that things that feel very budgety are sitting under something like family and community engagement is because these things, 163,000 for ceiling tile, almost 21.5 for alarm upgrades, and 1.5 billion for fields. These things don't happen without strong relationships and communication between municipal officials, town residents, because keep in mind, none of those three things could happen without a vote at STM, at special town meeting or annual town meeting. We have 500 students in the schools. Of those 500 students, fewer than 400 are resident students, some of whom have siblings. So what I'm getting at is you have maybe 300 unique families in the district who are also going to special town meeting. So when it comes to investments in the schools, these things don't happen unless the school committee, the select board, everybody is communicating effectively and well, and those relationships. I mentioned the presentation to the town, and of course our collaboration with public safety in our presentation last month. And the final standard is professional culture, where we're expected to improve the effectiveness of data teams. So our district leadership team developed our equity dashboard. There are some updates to that equity dashboard now, if you click on it. So for example, disciplinary data now includes quarter 3 and quarter 4. We are seeing the same trend of overrepresentation in certain demographic groups when it comes to disciplinary referrals. The other piece that has been updated is enrollment and screening data. So those three things. Not everything gets updated every time I'll speak to you because like MCAS happens once a year. So it'll be updated in the fall. And I'll do a formal presentation and spend more time on the equity dashboard in the fall. So, but it is here that people can see some of the updates. I believe I mentioned this to you, but we have contracted with UMass Amherst School Psychology Department, and they will help us to make the equity dashboard more visually user-friendly. And they also are going to have a section that helps the reader and the school committee understand what inferences can we draw. So when we're comparing a cohort of 130 and 30% of 130 versus 30% of 10, doesn't mean that we don't, the numbers and the data they will always be there. It doesn't mean we can't say that something's overrepresented, underrepresented, or that we don't want to pay attention. But they will give us statistical guardrails that will help us to make reasonable inferences and help us with our planning. And I really want to compliment our principals and Michelle. You can see examples of faculty meeting agendas. So my job is supposed to be to make the conditions possible for really talented people to do good work. Anything that goes well in the district, and I mean this sincerely, has very little to do with this. It has everything to do with our building principals, Michelle, Sarah, and our teachers. And of course, our students. Thank goodness they're learning. That really helps me. It makes me look wicked good. Appreciate that, kids. So you see examples here of some of the work that they're doing and the time and energy that they put into making sure that time spent in meetings and with data teams is time well spent. I have some examples of where we've tried to foster positive culture by seeking staff input, and all the various teams that the staff is invited to participate in. And we do our best. We always compensate in accordance with the contract, and if it's possible to compensate additionally because of grants, this is one of the reasons why I chase grants the way that I do, because I want you to know that time, we appreciate the time that they give us in addition to all the hard work they do in the classroom. So I provided this for you in case it's helpful. Final slide, I let you know what my ratings were, my summative last year. So in instructional leadership, last year the rating was exemplary, management and operations, exemplary, family and community engagement, proficient, professional culture, proficient, and an overall rating exemplary last year. The school committee gets to discuss, deliberate, and vote each standard for this year and an overall rating.
Great. Thank you, Annie. Well, let me be the first to congratulate you on your many accomplishments. There were many times that I wanted to jump in and say, my gosh, that was such a home run. So glad you did that. But I'll just, just offer some highlights. I'm really, really pleased with our instructional leadership, especially around innovation pathways, around our language instruction at the elementary school, around all the different ways that we're providing pathways for students in early career through GCC classes. And it's not a surprise to me that we were awarded a Project Lead the Way grant and designated a Project Lead the Way distinguished school, and it's noticed on the outside how exceptional we are at our instructional leadership. I'm really pleased with our management and operations and the way we've really utilized the SEL role with Michelle Wojtowicz, and in particular, we've talked a lot about having Hadley Elementary School be a pathway to Hopkins and having students not leave the district after their amazing elementary school experience. And I think part of that is knowing that there'll be a consistency in experience in the way we are doing assessments, in the way that we are providing tiered levels of support, in the way that we are screening and supporting students. And I think having someone from the elementary school who has served in that role as a bridge to create that continuity has been a really valuable thing for the district. And I'm excited to see the many ways that continues to bear fruit, including all the work around restorative justice and culturally responsible practices and all the racial equity related stuff. I think in terms of management and operations, you continue to hit it out of the park with respect to grants. The dishwasher, I get it. You're a high achiever. We can spring other means. Don't worry. But just continue to commend how much you've helped the district in identifying opportunities to go after competitive proposals and have brought in grants for our educators to do excellent work. So thank you for that. I continue to be excited about the progress we see in family and community engagement, especially with the survey that will yield some really good feedback, I think. Also with just a number of the gatherings that, the dinners at the elementary school, the opportunities to open house and create a more celebratory environment for people to come and not just, check the boxes and go through what happens in the school, but really just appreciate the school culture and make it an inviting place for our Hadley Elementary School students that perhaps may not continue on, that we really need to continue to work on that. And I love the efforts that you've undertaken. I did have a question when I saw those capital line items in family and community engagement. I thought, that isn't that a part of management and operations? And I understand that none of it would be possible if we didn't have a great relationship with the town, and that takes a lot of time and cultivation. So I do appreciate that. And finally, professional culture. I really appreciate the way that you engage not only the community and the students in getting feedback on things like phones, but also the educators, and really working with educators on all things like schedules and vacations. And I think that really builds trust and creates an atmosphere of safety to explore and imagine and create. And I commend you on setting that tone and having the great outcomes that we see. So thank you for that. If I were to personally summarize my where I think you land, it's consistent with where we landed on the summative evaluation. And I'm eager to hear my colleagues' thoughts, Tara, Christine, Ethan. I'd love for you to chime in and share your perspectives as well.
I just want to know when Annie sleeps. So, that's, I think that it's amazing how much we do, not we personally, actually how much leadership does in the amount of things that we accomplish that I know other school districts can't even, comprehend or even look to do. And I couldn't be more proud. And again, I can't believe that you can fit all this into 1 year. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. And Annie's doing a great job. We're very lucky.
Well said, Christine.
So I thank you, Humira, for kind of going through the summary and kind of recapturing, because you're right, it is impressive. And I feel like every year, the places where there's just zero doubt in Annie's overall leadership, right? But in zero, I never ever have any sort of questions when it comes to instructional leadership or management and operations. She's got that down pat. And I, in the past, have also said that family and community engagement is one of the hardest places to be exemplary, right? Because it's always changing, and you never know. I think after this year, it's been a challenging year, in the district in general, and there have been a lot to come up. And I feel as though you've handled yourself in a very professional and respectable way. And if I were to kind of pick two areas really, as I've kind of been listening to the presentation and thinking just kind of over the course of the year. It's still that family and community engagement. Where can we, and Annie, it's really not a personal thing towards you. It's really just as a whole, how can we engage better, right? I think that's a challenge for every organization. How can we do it better? And so, trying to find a way that we can really move up that. I don't know, that category is just so hard, but I feel like we're always going to need to be looking at ways to improve that. And every year it's going to be different. And kind of complementary to that, I feel, is professional culture. It kind of ties in, right? So we've hit some pretty charged topics this year in the school, and there have been some pretty strong opinions and very polarized opinions and thoughts, and I think that not only ties in with the family and community engagement, but also with the professional culture as well, right? So I feel like you've really paved the way in both of those areas by starting to have these conversations, by putting the surveys out there, by having Miss Jabber on board, right? Like, we've got these really great starts in both of these areas to really make significant headway on them. And so I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And I'm excited to see the summative evaluation for next year, and what did we do to make those things better, knowing the kind of year we've had this year. And so with that, I agree with the ratings as they are for the 2021-2022 year. Because again, even though I'm suggesting with professional culture, I think we need to take it a little further. I still think that we're paving the way, right? And I still feel like those ratings are accurate and reflective of your work. And, I know every year you do really give credit, and I'm appreciative that you're so humble. I really am. I think that also makes a fantastic leader. You are a fantastic mentor to all of the leadership team. You help your staff rise to their highest capabilities. And I think that is truly what makes a great leader. So I think that we've got wonderful team on board. And I think that you are also, you deserve credit to be able to lead that way. And they are growing and excelling under a wonderful mentor and a wonderful leader who allows them to grow and excel. Really. So I feel very lucky to have you. And I feel very lucky to have all of our administrative team and all of our staff. I really do. Just, anytime you hear something or turn on the news, you feel really great. I feel really grateful. I'm sure all of us do feel really grateful and really proud of where we're at. Just academically, socially, just in general, we're really making strides. So I appreciate your dedication to our students. I really, really do. And it shows.
Thank you, Tara. Ethan.
Yeah, I was, as you guys were talking, what I can't help thinking about is really, in the 3 years I've been here, how aggressive we've been with our planning, with our projects, adding staff, adding programmatic ideas, the big time capital projects that we're thinking about the future, and along the way, how every time we've been like, hey, what if we did this? We just went out and did it, right? And Annie, I think that speaks to your leadership and the work that you've done with the administration over at least the last 3 years that I've been a part of the school committee. And that's the part that's so exciting, is like, we kind of drum up these ideas in school committee, and we're like, what if we decided to do this? And then, 6 months later, it's like halfway done and there's a grant for it, and we're thinking about all the ways that we can improve the school year after year. I mean, that's, to me, the exciting part of this, is that we can kind of think like, how can we make this community better? How can we make our schools better? And then it just happens. It happens quickly too, right? And so that part is super exciting, and that's the part that makes this, looking at this evaluation so exciting. And I'll just add, I mean, I think I agree with everybody. Like the family and community engagement piece is just always so challenging. And I think there's always an opportunity for us to improve because as we've kind of already stated, that part of this job is always changing. And we're always having to kind of rethink the way that we engage with our community, especially our parents. I think looking at the ratings from last year, I think, yeah, I'd agree. I think exemplary all the way across, family and community engagement, proficient. But I think that's because I think we all understand that that's something that's really challenging and that we're doing really well, but there's always opportunity to improve.
Well said, Ethan. We are doing really well, and we want to continue to keep our eye on that. Annie, I think we need to take a vote on this. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. So do I hear a motion to accept the summit, let's see, not the summative, but not the
No,
form.
they are summative. So summative evaluation, I think if I say it back to you, maybe, and make sure I got it right,
Yes,
that the school committee is proposing 2022-23 summative evaluations for the superintendent as follows. Standard 1, instructional leadership exemplary. Standard 2, management and operations exemplary. Standard 3, family and community engagement proficient. Standard 4, professional culture exemplary. Overall rating 22-23 exemplary.
that's right. Do I hear a motion to do that? Approve that?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for your kind words. And again, I want to thank the teachers and the administrators, Michelle, the entire leadership team, and students and families for making this work enjoyable and easy. So thank you.
Excellent. All right, we are going to move to the next item of the agenda, which is, let's see, revised MOU regarding the ATS fields. Annie.
Yes, so you approved kind of in spirit, and we said we we're going to have the attorney look at it. I just want it before you now. Town council has reviewed it. Your attorney has reviewed it. And if it's all right, I'd just like you to take another vote of, you're looking at the actual document that is our MOU with HES on it.
All right, terrific. Any thoughts or comments on this from others?
No, just excited to add another field. This is going to be awesome.
Indeed. And Annie, you need a vote from us on this?
Please.
Do I hear a motion to approve the softball memorandum of understanding?
So moved.
Moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Right, motion passes. Terrific. Okay, we're going to move on to the Hadley Media update and feedback. Alex, I just saw you a moment ago.
Yeah, I thought it was next, so I disappeared after. But
You're welcome.
thank you. Yeah, so I think I've met a few of you on the school committee so far, but just to introduce myself, I'm Alex Marsh. I'm the new media director for the town. Even though it's almost been a year since I've been in this position. I worked in Granby for the past five prior years to here. And we've actually had a great relationship with the schools there. And that's something I do want to continue here, that momentum. Pretty much what I want to do is grab feedback from the school committee and grab some ideas from the school committee and see how we can work together more within the schools. If anyone had any ideas, feedback, all that fun stuff.
Great. Alex, I have to say that you've been such a great resource. And I know I really appreciate your leadership in live streaming sports and when sports are at the home field. And I know parents really appreciate that when they can't make it to a game. I really appreciated collaborating with you to elevate the voices of our students who from the Diversity Club who gave the presentation about Uyghurs in China. You came to that event, you live streamed it, your recording is now on Hadley Media, which helps elevate the work of these students forever, which I think is such a great asset. And I think it would be wonderful for our school system to look for other opportunities like that to lift up our students and create for them, assets that could live on Hadley Media that they can point to for their resume or for their college career, to be able to say, I gave that presentation, I delivered, this poster session. Here's my award-winning science fair project. And also, I would say some of the open house things, the culture of warmth and inviting care that we create. I think those are tangible assets we could also use in telling the story about Hadley Elementary School and Hopkins Academy as great places for students from other districts who might want to choose us, or for Hadley parents and students who really should stay on at Hopkins Academy. So those are some ideas that come to mind for me. I welcome my colleagues to also chime in.
I love Cassidy's thing that she's doing. I get a kick out of it. She's fantastic. And I love that she has that opportunity. I think that there's a lot of people who enjoy watching our kids interact and what they're doing. I know my mother-in-law absolutely loves watching things like that. My only suggestion or feedback that's not positive is the audio at graduation was very difficult because every time they turned away or so. I don't know if there's a way to do an like a wireless mic or a something that they themselves can clip on. I know it's like little things, but it was just that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did catch on to that. We're gonna do something different next time.
Perfect. Sure. So, but otherwise, I'm enjoying, watching all the things that you're doing on the community channel, or community on the Facebook. I usually click on there and see what's going on, and so great job.
Thank you.
I think you've had a fantastic presence this year, and it was notable. I'm sure if I'm noticing it, that others are as well. So definitely notable. And I love your ideas, Humira. I don't have any of my own off the top of my head right now, but you made some really great ones. I was like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. And so I think that's having students be able to showcase and have something to refer back to and really shine. I think it's fantastic, and it's probably kind of exciting for them as well, right? Especially where our world is right now, so digital. I think it's a great idea. All your ideas. If I think of anything else, I'd be sure to reach out. So thank you though for your presence.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll just read. I mean, all the things that have been said, I kind of running through my head: the ease of access, how visible you have been, how available you have been for all the different things happening in town. I think it's clear that if you're looking for something related to the town and you want to watch it, you know where you can find it now. There's no question about it. So that's just, I think that's the part that I appreciate the most.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all this feedback.
Alex, before you close, I just want to add one other thing to consider. Well, it's that, sometimes students, they go on to pursue other careers that they might not have expected. I have a number of University Innovation Fellows, 3,000 of them. One of them is going into law enforcement and other sort of like work in the federal government that they cannot talk about, and they want all of their public related things taken down. So just as easy as it is for us to put them up and spotlight them, for us to have a clear policy that should they wish for anything to be taken down in the future, that we are open for business, respectful of that sentiment and are willing to take that down. I think that's really important for us to build that into our policy.
Noted. I did want to reiterate, we have plenty of stuff to do for students. Students can do more than just film when it comes to internships. And I like the idea of students showcasing ideas, referring back to them. That'd be a great way to get kids involved with us too. Whether it be like a liaison from their club or whatnot. But I definitely appreciate all the feedback and the all the feedback and the comments that you guys gave today. My email is alamarche@hadleyma.org if you have any other questions or concerns. Otherwise, this is all great, and we'll be at Westfield State tomorrow night.
Excellent.
Well,
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Alex. And a prize for you every single year. We give at the end of the year Golden Apple Awards to educators and staff members who have gone above and beyond. And we also give a community service award. People have received the reward in the past, Edward Hopkins Foundation, the public safety, police chief, fire chief. And this year, which I don't have your plaque to hold up right now, but imagine that I am doing that. And this year, Hadley Media, specifically Alex Lamarche, will be the recipient of the Hadley Public Schools Community Service Award for all that you do to support schools, to support our students, and to provide opportunities for our students. Really grateful. So thank you for that, Alex.
That was unexpected.
I know that was. Look at me. I'm surprised.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and I'm happy to work at the schools and I love my job. So, looking forward to working with you all more.
Well, it shows, and we look forward to having you back again. So thank you for visiting with us, and yeah, keep up the great work.
Thank you. I will.
All right. We're going to move on to the next item of our agenda, which is the first reading of the HPS School Threat Assessment Policy. Ethan.
Yes, so we just had our second reading of this in policy subcommittee. You guys would have first heard about it last week during Annie and Chief Mason's presentation. But this is a school-based assessment policy that Annie has put together. It's pretty detailed. It outlines a lot of really good information. I'm very thankful to Christine for her English teacher skills. I just want to say that out loud. But yeah, this is a very comprehensive and detailed policy that goes into great detail for Hadley Public Schools and how they'll approach school-based assessment going forward.
I want to say I really appreciate how detailed and thorough it is and how it really spells out some of those protocols. If this happens, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to approach it. And how the team will approach it, as well as, what we will do at the administrative and police department level. I also really appreciate that we're clear about community communication, that it's not the public's right to know things that are confidential and individual related to students. And so I think it's really well written, and I thank you both for working on this. Tara, do you have any feedback for Ethan and Christine?
No, this is first reading for us, right? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I was impressed when I read it. I thought it was thorough and timely, and I'm excited to see it. Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll see it back next month to vote on it. All right. Moving on to the next item of the agenda is the grants to pilot more restrictive cell phone policies and Hopkins Academy cell phone referral data. Annie.
So as you can see from the data, last summer, no surprise, I was really hot on the idea of never a cell phone again, ever. We decided, which was very logical, I'm always grateful for that, to get a little clearer on what is the problem we're solving for, to what extent does the problem exist, and what does the data say about the nature of the problem. as you can see from our cell phone data, and some of that what you see in Q4, some of the drop off in referrals does have to do with enforcement fatigue, which is completely normal. An educator has to make a decision about how much instructional time they're going to spend on redirects for a particular behavior. And if the student's behavior, i.e. being holding a cell phone or having a cell phone in a pocket or doing something, is not disruptive to the rest of the class, I understand a teacher making a decision about not going to spend instructional minutes redirecting. So I just say that some of what you see in Q4, always with disciplinary referral data, it's just important to have in the back of your mind that enforcement fatigue is not indicating that anybody's being lazy or not doing their job. We're just making really logical instructional decisions in the moment and trying to get the most out of instructional time in May and June. And that means making decisions about redirects. But you can see that the number of students, so there's far more referrals in students. Some students have a severe problem with cell phone use, but it is not as widespread as perhaps we had thought when we were talking about this last year. That doesn't mean that we don't want to work with parents and families about how to address it. I will be looking at the grants that are available. One of the things we talked about was, does something like Yonder still actually make sense if you're talking about the numbers that we see here? Because it brings with it a host of enforcement obligations, right? Making sure that kids turn in their device, giving the device back out. So it requires some planning. I'm not saying that that is off the table. I just want folks to know that we're looking at the data and asking ourselves, does this solution make the most sense? One thing though that I haven't changed my mind on, and I know the principals agree with me on this because we frequently talk about it, and this may be a place where we can really focus family engagement efforts next year, is working with families to try to help children make better choices about time spent on social media. So even if we take phones away during the school day, they still can go on social media, and they do. Many of the largest problems we have in school are not about kids using phones in school, but they're about issues that start on social media outside of school. This is when they are at home in the evening, on the weekends, and that those things spill back into school. And we all know the Surgeon General has been making the rounds talking about the public health hazard that the Surgeon General and others believe now that social media may face. I don't know how I feel about this. But they've also said, you know, parents, if they're interested in trying to consider a different way, need help and support to make that happen. So what am I saying here? I'll keep my eyes out for grants. I want you to know that based on the data that we're seeing, our first thought is not let's lunge at Yonder, because we think that the issue might be a bit more nuanced and complex. Again, even what the Surgeon General is getting at is time on social media. That is the issue. Even if that phone is away at school, oh my goodness, they are spending a lot of time on social media. And so where can we help parents help parents? You know, some things, you guys have probably read articles. And as a matter of fact, I'll leave a student unnamed, but a student who talked about, upper elementary student who talked about just feeling frustrated that kind of like it's hard to engage with peers when peers are staring. And there's another article I read unrelated to our school that I felt like this adolescent child really summed it up well, where he said his first reaction, because he's not allowed to have a phone, his first reaction is like anger at his parents for not allowing him to have it. And then he's a very astute young man. He commented on the fact that when he looked beyond that, it wasn't that, it's the sadness he feels because he knows that every time a friend gets one, he loses a friend, because they can sit in the same place and stare at a screen and not speak to one another. So we'll be watching, and I'm thinking about how to engage families, not tell them what to do or what they should do, but if families want support or want to talk with other families, maybe there's ways that we can help parents support each other if they want to rethink how much social media access their children.
Well, first of all, I want to commend you and the team. While there may be data collection fatigue, the numbers are clear that students' patterns are shifting, and they are not using their cell phones in classes and in school, which is a very, very positive thing. And I'm really pleased that you've hit upon a bigger issue, which is that their use of social media doesn't necessarily go away. I've been encouraged by some of the young people I've come across, and by young, I mean like middle school, high school age. One who recently said to me, actually, this is my son, my youngest, said, I'm on a digital fast. And he and his friends had decided that like that week, they were just like reducing the amount of hours that they were going to spend on their computer, on digital platforms. I also have been reading about young people in high school who are starting a technology Luddite club, where they agree, right? They agree that they're not going to engage in social media. They're going to go off of it, and they're going to really truly connect with one another and really just forge old-fashioned, amazing human connections. And in doing so, they started to see people who had an inflated sense of like status on Instagram and other such things were just ordinary people with a computer in their hand, the phone in their hand, in their school environment. So I'm optimistic about what we could potentially also do, not just with parents, but also with students. And it might not be all students, it might be with a small population of students, but you start somewhere and then maybe you make it a thing and it becomes something that all students start to question and think about. So I'm looking forward to where we take this next year. And I would love to engage the students in the conversation about how we help create awareness about other strategies on use of these technologies, which are not going away, but how do we not have them hijack our lives?
And I think that's what I was actually going to touch upon, Humira, is that we need to really involve the students in understanding, the harms, as well as get their feedback on ways in which we can work with them. I did have one student say to me that, well, we just get better at hiding it. And, that's what they're kids. That's what you expect. I mean, you tell them they can't have candy, they find a way to hide candy. So you have that issue, but I think they need to understand, and we need to help them understand that in the long run, this is not going to help you. My son, he'll be a junior next year at Stonehill. He, looking back, has said, oh my God, yeah, having a cell phone was not helpful during high school. And that it did distract him, and it did, that he, didn't need to be so involved when he was in high school with all of that. And I think that maybe having, some alumni students come back who are, in college, in the work field, in the workforce, and having them see that, you think it's important now, but once you get out of here, you may not feel that, you may realize that, like we did, so try and help them come to that conclusion, as well as support parents who have to deal with the fallout of trying to cut down on social media.
Great suggestion, Christine, about bringing back the alums, people young in years who they really respect and admire, to come back and say words like that. Yeah, that would be very powerful.
So I have a couple of things, and one would be, you know, when it comes to cell phone, I think objective and subjective data in this particular instance is still important. And if we can keep tracking at the beginning of the school year, referrals, I'm hoping it's easy enough to just keep that up. So we can see, you know, just, you know, where is the level, it'd just be good data to track. Where is the level of fatigue versus is there, you know, at the beginning of the year, students, you know, it coming off of the summer, you start to see kids using it more, and then it kind of peters off as teachers are a little more on top of it. And in addition to teachers just feeling like I'm not going to do this anymore. So I would be curious to just keep tracking that data. But I also would be curious just because I know last summer when we talked about this, it was a really charged topic. And I'd be really curious about teachers' feedback on how the school year went, particularly in the high school, right? So how they feel now compared to when we first started this discussion and when it was first brought to school committee, right? Because this wasn't something that school committee brought up on their own. It was something that was brought to us. So I would just be curious of feedback from them and kind of how they feel the year went, and their thoughts on it if we haven't done that already. And then just my thoughts on this social media thing. And I you know, you're right, Annie, that I've had a lot of discussions with parents at both the high school and the elementary school recently, as well as some staff. And I think two things. One, I'm surprised. I'm always surprised at the things that I'm hearing, right? I sit and I just listen and I'm surprised. And I'm maybe slightly overwhelmed, right? Because when I went to school, or when any of us went to school, it was just such a different environment. So our kids are just, they're growing up so different than what we are. And so it's hard because we're learning these things at the same time that they're learning these things, right? And so, you know, I really like Christine's idea, the perspective of the kids who are no longer in the high school, right? Because now they've left the high school. How did that impact them, and how do they reflect on it? But I also think that the school, even though a lot of this is happening outside of school, the school could really be kind of that central hub, for lack of a better word, that can start the discussion, maybe for parents who don't even know where to begin the discussion, right? Like, don't even know where to take it. Like, the school can kind of be that like starting ground, and having discussions with not only students, but parents as well, right? Because maybe a parent just doesn't even know how to tackle it. I had just been talking to a parent, I think it was last month now, and we were kind of joking around how kids don't make phone calls anymore. They text, right? And so then I found out a couple of weeks ago, kids don't actually text anymore. So I'm, you know, not a very old parent, and they don't even text. So apparently parents, we are the old ones now that text more, and students are using social media. And this was like, to me, like they don't even text on their phone now. They're using social media to communicate, and that's how they do their homework, or, you know, get information to each other. It was mind-blowing to me, right? And so I wonder how many other parents just look at this and just don't even comprehend. I mean, there are kids that, you know, I think, while my son is not on things like TikTok, probably knows more about what it does than me. And maybe I'm more reserved than some other adults, I'm sure. But I think it would just be a good place for parents in addition to students. And I don't know if that's together or separate. I don't know if parents can learn from students and students can learn from parents, but just kind of starting the discussion, maybe being a place to start the discussion for the.
Yeah, I think the alumni would be helpful in that also, because I think,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you know, us talking, you know, or us doing something with parents, that we're not really the ones who understand what the kids are doing. I mean, you know, I have to keep asking my kid, and he keeps telling me how old I am. So it's not fun. And so I think that maybe getting kids to actually, explain to parents would be a great idea, and to have it be a conversation. I think that's awesome.
Really cool ideas. Ethan, any last words?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there's just two things. One, my only question, Terry, you tackled it, which was kind of teacher feedback, both on kind of what are the classroom dynamics with cell phones still being available to students in during the day, and then also as you can kind of see in the data, like how are teachers feeling with regards to having to address cell phones in the classroom or in the hallways or however it is, whether it's referrals or just at this time of year, just saying, hey, listen, I don't want to see it. I would just love to get as much feedback that we can from the teachers. My only other point that I was going to make, and it really came up while you guys were talking, is I think it's just really important to remember that we're not that far away from a time when students were stuck indoors or stuck at home, and they had far more access to this than they ever had before. And when we think about child development, when we think about that time lost, that social interaction, time lost, and not being in the classroom, mixed with the fact that they had far more access to their electronic devices, I think we just have to be. I say this as someone who works in schools, like we just have to be patient. I think it's going to continue to get better. I think it's going to continue to be a challenge. Because we are older and we didn't experience this technological world within our schools, I think these kids are growing up in a different atmosphere, and it's just important to remember that. And I just find myself having to remind myself and the people I work with, we have to be patient with these students. They were stuck at home for a while, and they all are going to react to it differently as we continue to get farther and farther away from the pandemic.
I wanted to add one more thing too, as we were talking about this, because we've always, even if it was our intention or not, it's always been very high school focused. And some of my conversations have actually been in the elementary school. And so I've been surprised at some of the feedback I've heard from various people in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, right? So those 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are soon transitioning into the high school. So I just want to make sure that we're aware that, I think it starts before the high school even.
Oh, definitely.
Start those discussions with those kids and the impacts of what it really means. And I think, I really, even maybe the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders having that discussion with somebody who went to Hopkins, right, and is out and can provide some feedback, maybe they'd even receive that information a little bit better, right, than having a discussion with staff. And
That's another great idea.
Yeah, I mean, my kids didn't have iPhones available really to them when they were in elementary school. We were still dealing with the flip. So, they're starting earlier and earlier, and we just keep asking them to have a maturity that is really so far beyond what, the decisions that they should have to make about what they see and what they don't see at this level. And I think you're right. I think at the elementary school, the kids are probably more media savvy than we are. I think that's a great idea.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for this conversation. Annie, we've given you a lot to think about and inspiration, hopefully, on how you pursue this. Keep us posted. We're eager for ongoing data collection and updates. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item. Item J, Eversource Energy Audit Report, Hopkins Academy.
I'm sorry, item I. Can I just let you know, item I, and it's very
yes,
quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. Item I.
So because my hope is that we will convene as a school committee on your retreat in August. If our numbers get up there, and it's great news, the elementary is doing a wonderful job. We have pretty high numbers right now in pre-K. And if we continue to get high numbers, we have 42 enrolled right now. Another transfer.
That's surprising.
It's great. And I will be moving forward then with authorizing the open K classroom if that happens, and we have funding in school choice. And I just want to, unless the school committee has some real concern about that, we just don't want pre-K classrooms busting up the seams.
What I want us to think about is whether that's a sustained turnaround of the population decline, whether we've turned the corner and we're actually consistently increasing, so that we're not hiring people that we then have to, move around or let go. Any thoughts on that?
So the good news is that in our pre-K program, as you know, in Hadley Public Schools, we're really fortunate that we have folks who have been working in the schools for a long time in elementary school and other campuses who are qualified to do some of these things. And then it doesn't put us in a position of having to rip a position. It may mean that the person, if we take an in-house person who's currently in another type of position, that's when I've asked the school committee and the union to agree to a 1-year MOU, and that person could bump back into their current position. So it's an excellent question. And fortunately for us, we have highly qualified in-house.
Okay, very good. I have no other comments about this. Anyone else?
No, just keep us posted. It's a great problem to have. I mean, I remember years ago when we were talking about the opposite. So it's a good, I'm glad that we have so many students wanting to come into Hadley.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep us moving forward. Item J, Eversource Agenda Energy Report. Chris, are you here?
I am here. Oh, sorry, I had my lens covered up. There we go. Okay, so I did reach out a couple of times to Eversource just to get an update on what's going on. They did have all of our prior year bills and everything so that they could do calculations on how much energy we've been using. And I got a response today, so the timing was pretty good, that they have the report back. There was an outside company doing a study with all of the information. They got the report back. They were going to be reviewing it this week and get it back to the company that did the prepared the report, and then it would come back to Eversource and to us, and we could move on from there. There was talk way back, probably in, I don't know, November, December, when we started discussing this, about doing a deeper study into, the schools using the report results as a guide to kind of say, oh, you use a lot of this particular energy. Let's focus our improvements on this area. And that particular study was going to require us to pay for half. I did ask him today for a dollar amount for that. I asked about 4 questions. I got an answer that was to none of the questions, just an answer. So unfortunately, I don't have the dollar amount, but I do, if I remember correctly, the dollar amount that was tossed around when we first started discussing with them was about $6,000. So, I mean, it would be helpful to move things along if we could get the school committee to approve without a dollar amount, just in case, it's a slightly different amount than $6,000, just to okay that in advance. So when they do come back, we can keep it moving forward.
I think it's really important that we get all the study analysis that we need to in order to make all the decisions we can about how do we use ESSER funds in support of our energy goals and clean energy goals in particular. So I'd be very willing to authorize perhaps not a blank check, but definitely $6,000 and no more than $8,000. Does that sound fair?
Can I jump in and say I'd caution? So this is the only reason I'm cautioning you. I'm not saying that I think 10 or 15, I don't know that, but this is critical, right, for us to move forward to get the bid specs done. I don't think it will be cost prohibitive. And I think what we're really looking for, again, even if it's a motion that the school committee would approve the use of ESSER funds for this purpose. And I would ask, strange thing to ask, but I will ask it publicly, that you would trust if it was something that it was like, wow, this feels like potential sticker shock. We would need to convene a quick school committee meeting to double check that we would do that. I just don't want to get stuck because I know how important it is to move this forward. We have what we believe will be about $500,000 in ESSER, 400,000 in ESSER that we're looking to get this work done. And even this bit would come out of ESSER funding, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah. So I just didn't want you to box yourself in even on a ceiling on that.
Can I ask a question? Is this something that could, because Humira, I was thinking along the same lines when you started talking. So I'm wondering if this is something that can at least be reviewed maybe with our chair. Is that something we can say we give that, but then it's reviewed with our chair and you and, Humira and Annie, if you feel comfortable, I'm putting you on the spot, Humira, making that decision as to whether or not it's something that would require us reconvening for?
I would be very open to that.
Perfect, perfect. That's great. That'd be great.
Yeah, I just think some connection so that we're not
Yep.
vastly exceeding our
Yep.
goals would be great. Okay, terrific. And as soon as you have that report, even if we are going into a lengthier report, you will be able to share that with us, Chris?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item K. The approval of the revised job description for the lead custodian. Annie. Actually, no, it's not. It's Chris. Chris, tell us
Yep.
about this.
So this is pretty much the same one that I gave last month, except apparently you had a draft version of it. So I resubmit it this month for your approval, and you can see the changes that were made to it now.
Okay.
Which there were some changes last time, but apparently did not have the duties checklist included on it. So really a lot of it is just, adding, changing head custodian to facilities director, adding me into who they report to as well. Just an extra piece of equipment that they might use. And then, further down at item 14 is where we just list some of the custodial duties that they will do and say per the cleaning checklist. Item 18 just adds removing snow and ice. This was at the advice of our attorney because it was not in the prior job description, and she said it should, and I would agree with her there. And then number 19, just again, kind of mentioned the cleaning checklist, and just, what we wanted to make sure is that people don't have the checklist and say, oh, that's not on it, I guess I don't have to clean it type of item. So we just added even if not on the cleaning checklist. And that's basically it. There's not a huge amount of change to it, just some tweaking and kind of cleaning up to make sure that it was a little more precise.
Great. Thank you for bringing this back to us. And I really appreciate being able to see the changes. It is definitely much more clear. And I would be happy to entertain a motion to approve this lead custodian job description.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are moving on to equipment for field maintenance. Chris.
Okay, so and just an FYI, the athletic fields went out to bid about 2 weeks ago, and we've already sent out bid documents to a number of vendors. So I would guess 5 or 6 at least. So that's good news. One item that was kind of discovered is that the new fields that we have, we don't really have equipment to take care of fields in a proper manner. So what happened was we had a tractor dragging kind of a makeshift infield smoother outer. That's a technical term. What happens is as you drag it around the bases, what ended up happening was that it was removing the infield dirt from the base paths, and you ended up with kind of a little bit of a ledge where the grass ended and the dirt began, which certainly if you have a ball rolling down a baseline or something in foul territory, because the baseline, would be in a little bit, and then it hits that ledge, it could curve back fair and really kind of make a mess of things, So we did some research on it. I have to say our athletic director, Fred Siago, is just a boatload of knowledge about this, which is really coming in helpful. And I did reach out. I have a friend who's the head groundskeeper at Bay Path University. So I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago as well and just mentioned the equipment we were looking for. And he said that was a pretty common thing, that all of the bigger schools and colleges use that on their athletic fields. He himself used one. And ultimately, with these athletic fields, once phase 2 is all done, we really want this to be kind of a showcase of athletic fields in Western Mass. And part of being a showcase of athletic fields is to make sure we have the equipment to properly maintain them. So this is kind of, I guess, if you can imagine, it's kind of like a tricycle, on a motor, but it drags a much more refined, again, to the technical term, field smoother outer behind it, and then something that smooths it even more. What I was told is that what happens usually, we let the fields go to weed in the fall and winter, where once we're done playing softball, for example, that whole infield gets covered in weeds by the fall and spring. And if we just drag this, a couple times a month throughout the summer and fall, we won't have that mess to deal with in the spring. So we were just kind of mentioning it to you guys just to make sure you were aware of the purchase, because it was pretty pricey. When Fred was showing me the prices, it was in the low to mid $20,000 range. So it's, it's not a cheap item, but nevertheless, I do think it's really important if we want the fields to look their best.
Terrific. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that. And so it's a versatile piece of equipment that will be able to maintain our soccer and baseball and softball fields, the entire grounds.
It's more for the baseball and softball, just because it's more for smoothing out dirt than the grass. But again, it's kind of an important piece to have. Yeah.
Okay.
And it does not require a vote, but just because it is a rather pricey piece of equipment, we wanted the public to know the what and why of it, and school committee to have the opportunity to ask any questions or voice any objections if you have it.
Very good. I do not object. I think it's important to maintain our significant investment in these new fields. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. Christine, Tara, Ethan?
I just have one question, that we have a safe and dry place to store this piece of equipment that was pricey.
We will make sure that it is cared for appropriately, even if, I don't know if we have any existing space, but we do have that 3-door garage. I think it's, there's 3 doors in it right next to the central office. We can clean out some space in there and store it in there as well. So yeah, we'll make sure it's taken care of.
Excellent. Thank you for that heads up, and look forward to seeing the equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, we're moving on to item 5, student representative report, which is not happening this month. It will resume in September. Annie, do you have anything to share about their work at this juncture?
I don't have any reports from them. I will say the students are eager and met with some student representatives today at the high school to talk about the intergroup dialogue. Students who are current sophomores, they will be juniors next year, and they're very eager to help unpack the survey results as we have those, and to also follow up some of the survey data that we will get from the surveys with perhaps conversations and focus groups that they might lead when they dig in and uncover things that come up in the survey. So it was a great meeting today. I'm grateful for those students who spend Mondays with me, another Hopkins educator, giving us all kinds of great ideas.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Please extend our thanks to them as well. Business manager reports, we have none this month. We'll come back to that next time. School committee reports. Item A, finance, as I mentioned, there hasn't been a tri-board meeting. Moving on to item B, Tara, CES.
Yep. So the previous meeting for CES was mostly on discussion of budget. So budget was finalized with CES. And then reviewing some of the updates that they've been making to the buildings. They've been making hefty updates, and then making requests for approvals for additional funding to update the buildings. They're in really good shape financially. The building progress is looking great. And that was the majority of the time. And then I sent along the director's report to you guys as well. It's lengthy, but it goes through kind of any updates through any of the programs that CES has. And we did spend some time going through that, but I won't go through it. I'll let you read. And if there's any questions, then I'm available.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. Ethan, you took us through the threat assessment policy that you and Christine worked on. Is there anything else that policy is working on that we should be aware of?
Not at this time.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Paul's not here for an update on fields. Annie, is there anything that we should be aware of aside from what we just learned about the fields? Okay, terrific. And Christine, tell us about capital.
Nothing to report.
All right, excellent. We're going to move on to item 8, announcements, and we have our select board liaison, Joyce Chungalo, here. And actually, hang on one second, Joyce, I think bumped out of the call and then back in. Joyce, I've just made you co-host. Anything to report from the select board?
No, not exactly, except that I am your liaison for the next year. I've got reappointed to this position, so I'm very thrilled with that. And of course, if anybody has any concerns whatsoever, any Humira or any other board member, you can pick up the phone and call me, send me an email on, hadley.org, and I'm more than happy to respond to you. I do respond, and I'd love to. I have the most important, I feel, the most important boards in town, which are the school committee and the public safety. So those are my babies, and I really appreciate that I got reappointed. Thank you, Annie, Dr. McKenzie, for all that you do. I certainly appreciate working with you, and I didn't realize that we are back now able to do as many grants as you submitted this year, because there was a big lull in not being able to get any grants. They were actually on the downslide, and it looks like it's kind of picked up a little bit. So I appreciate you applying for those grants. We do have the tri-board. So if you feel that it's important that as we get closer to special town meeting in the fall, that you want to meet with the finance committee and the select board, just let me know. I mean, do we want to do that? Do you feel like it's a good thing for us to at least touch base before the fall, and maybe in September before the town meeting, just to see what's going on? I know that Carolyn is in touch with Annie a good portion of the time, or that Annie does get in touch with Caroline if there's any capital projects. Randy Eisner is our capital person now, and so if there's any things that need to go on that we need to look at, we certainly want to work with you. You have been great partners for the town, and as you said, it's the communication. It's what we appreciate, and that's, I think that's the crux of just running a town like we have. And I think Hadley runs pretty good. So I'm very proud to be a part of that. And I'm proud to have you people also a part of that also. So thank you.
Joyce, congrats on being reassigned to us. We enjoy having you as our liaison. And we appreciate all the feedback and advice and open communication that you provide us to the select board. Thank you for asking the question about the tri-board. I know it was established at a time when there was a lot of financial uncertainty, and also there weren't well-established relationships between the different departments. And that's really evolved in the time that I've been a part of things, not by any means due to me, but in large part due to Annie, in large part due to the evolving select board, our finance team at town hall. And so I don't think we should have meetings for the sake of having meetings. If we felt that there was something strategic that made sense to bring those three boards together, I'm totally down for participating in that strategic conversation. But in the meantime, I think our staff and our administration are really managing things quite well, and I'm very happy to continue until we need more assistance from any one of us.
That sounds great. And again, if you have anything that you think about that needs to go on town meeting, or anything that comes up over the summer, then just notify us before that happens. We'll send out the dates of opening up the warrant and things of that nature, so that you'll know if you need to put something on there, that we can do that in a timely fashion also.
Terrific. Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to school committee member updates. Do any of my school committee colleagues have announcements to make?
I just want to congratulate the baseball and softball teams. They're doing phenomenal and wish them luck in these, this next round.
Could not have spoken better words. We're all rooting for both teams. They're doing such a great job and making us all very proud. So excited to see what comes next. I wanted to share two things. One, occasionally, it comes to our attention that a member of the community has passed away, and I thought it would be really important to acknowledge Tommy Phil's untimely passing. His kids went through the school system and they're beloved by the entire community. His wife is a part of the community and school system. And we just really want to extend our solemn wishes to of sympathy and care to the Phil family and the extended family. So that's on the first update that I wanted to provide. And the second is about an upcoming event. I mentioned it at last month's meeting, but we are now just 4 days away from the 3rd annual Hadley World's Fair. And this is a great and celebratory gathering where we have lots of different international foods. I make Indian food and bring it. This time it's the Thursday before Juneteenth, which, as you know, is now national holiday and also a very celebratory day. And we have the Cultural Council, who's funded soul food being prepared by Hadley's very own Crystal Jackson. We're excited to have to partake in that feast. There's going to be music and games and lots of fun. The schools are not sponsoring organizations, as is the Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The Senior Center is also involved, as I mentioned, the Hadley Cultural Council. So it is a great collaboration of a lot of different organizations. We love meeting people. A lot of times people feel really disconnected to the town if they don't have kids in the school. This is a great way to come meet other cool people across different walks. And so I hope to see you there.
I had a great time there last year. It was very, very nice meeting all the people again, like you said, if you're not involved with the schools, or it makes it a really fun experience. And the food was fantastic. So, don't know what I'm going to make yet. I'll have to figure that out.
Everything you make is going to be great, Christine. So as a reminder, Senior Center this Thursday, 5 to 7:30. And if you want to RSVP or see any of the menu items, just go to hadleylearns.com and you'll find the RSVP over in the events section. We'd love to see you there. All right.
I know you mentioned Tommy, and thank you for that. Also, Allison Curran, a good friend of mine, and both her sons went through Hopkins. In fact, passed away last week as well. And so, my heart goes out to them. So
Thank you. We send our deep regrets. All right. The last item under announcements is upcoming events, the Hadley Public Schools calendar. Annie, anything?
There's a small, for the first time, Ms. Camuso decided to celebrate, which is wonderful, 8th grade moving into 9th grade. So there's an 8th grade commencement that will occur this Thursday at 1 p.m. at Hopkins Academy. Families have been invited. There, you said the Hadley World's Fair. I would encourage people to stop by the World's Fair, have some great food before they go to 6th grade celebration if you're a 6th grade parent, which is at 6:30 on Thursday. The last day of school. There is no school Monday, and the last day of school for students and staff is Wednesday.
Excellent. Thank you, Annie. All right. We are, let's review our action items. Item A, we've reorganized. Item B, we've evaluated the superintendent. Item C. We have
After we come, executive session, after we come out of executive session.
executive session. Item D, approved TA report with Eversource. Yep, we did that. Item E, good custodian job. Item F, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of May 22nd?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item G, do I hear a motion to approve the warrants for May 2023?
So
So
moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh,
Write it down as
Aye.
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 And we have already approved the memorandum of understanding for the the Hadley Elementary School fields. Our next meeting dates, we are proposing to pass on a July meeting date in light of holidays and vacations and so forth. And we would resume in August for a school committee retreat. Annie, can I ask that you take it offline, which weeks
Yep.
work? I have some travel in that time, but I'm confident we can come together, but sooner rather than later, I
Yeah.
would say to align schedules on that.
Sure.
Thank you. And we are going into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And the chair, I so declare, and we will return to open session for any votes that need to be taken. Do I hear a motion to go into that executive session?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded.
You need a roll call on this one.
Okay, Christine,
Oh, aye. Here.
Carol,
Aye.
Ethan,
Aye.
Humira, aye. All right. Thank you to everyone who joined for this meeting. And we will return momentarily. Team, I'm sending you into I will entertain a motion to approve the wage scales as presented for the district cook, as well as the admin staff of Hadley Public Schools, according to the wage scales presented. Do I hear a motion?
Can I ask for an amendment effective?
July 1st, 2022, so fiscal year 23.
Correct.
Do I hear a motion?
So
So
moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I need to take a roll call on that, Annie?
As a matter of you do, thank you for remembering. My apologies. So you can roll call on that.
Ethan,
Aye. Here. Yes.
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
Humira, aye. Okay, and we have one more vote. Do I hear a motion to allow admin at Hadley Public Schools to roll over any unused vacation time to October 31st, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
All right.
Okay, roll call on that. Ethan,
Aye.
Christine,
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
Humira, aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. Great meeting. A little bit longer, but really important to go over some of the great accomplishments of the schools. And thank you for participating tonight.
Thank you.
Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.